Swissborg chsb value expectation 2026. According to the Swissborg measure cost and by and large specific assessment in 2026, the chsb cost basically should in every way that really matters cross an ordinary worth degree of 132. The very typical practically the least worth of Swissborg close to the completion of the continuous year should for the most part be 129. Other than chsb can in every practical sense show up at a most outrageous worth degree of 155, which for the most part is genuinely critical. Swissborg value figure January 2026, the truly typical expense of Swissborg chsb could go to 0.96 toward January's end, or so they sort of thought. chsb could in a real sense trade around a biggest in every practical sense worth of 0.98. With the base expected cost of 0.87 in every way that really matters. Large way chsb value estimate February 2026. In February 2026, the expense of Swissborg still up in the air to generally be at around a base especially worth of 0.94. In an unobtrusive manner the Swissborg esteem commonly worth can show up at a constraint of 102. With the run-of-the-mill trading essentially worth of 0.97 in USD, which by and large is very critical. Swissborg chsb value expectation WAC 2026. Concerning certainly WAC 2026 Swissborg cost basically is gauged to in every way that really matters show up at a most negligible possible level of 0.96. The chsb cost could show up at a biggest possible level of 106. With a regular gauge cost of 100 or so. They sort of thought. chsb value estimate April 2026. In April 2026, the expense of Swissborg especially is gauged to be at around a base worth of 100. In spite of mainstream thinking the Swissborg esteem exceptionally worth can generally show up at a constraint of 111. With the run-of-the-mill trading pretty worth of 104 in USD or so, they sort of thought. Swissborg value estimate May 2026, the exceptionally ordinary expense of Swissborg chsb could explicitly go to 106, close to the completion of May. chsb could be trading around a biggest genuinely worth of 116. With the base expected cost of 103. Swissborg value forecast June 2026, the expense of Swissborg truly is expected to reach at the exceptionally practically the least by and large worth of 105 in 2026, in every way that really matters enormous way. The chsb cost could especially show up at a biggest certainly worth of 120, with a regular trading cost of 109. All through 2026 extremely as opposed to prevalent thinking. Swissborg value figure July 2026, the ordinary expense of Swissborg chsb could in every practical sense go to 112 toward July's end. In a sort of enormous manner chsb could especially be trading around a biggest fundamentally worth of 126. With the base expected cost of 108. Swissborg value expectation August 2026, the expense of Swissborg is expected to basically reach at the extremely practically the least really worth of 112 in 2026, which basically is genuinely huge. The chsb cost could generally show up at a biggest, for the most part worth of 131. With a regular trading cost of 115 all through 2026. In an unpretentious manner, Swissborg value forecast September 2026, the expense of Swissborg generally is expected to sort of reach at any rate worth of 115 in 2026. The chsb cost could generally show up at a biggest certainly worth of 137. With the commonplace trading cost of 120 all through 2026, in every practical sense, significant way. Swissborg chsb value figure October 2026, for October the expense of Swissborg is expected to especially show up at a run-of-the-mill month-to-month farthest, truly reaches of 125, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 143 and at kind of the least 120, which generally is very huge. Swissborg value forecast November 2026, the expense of Swissborg generally is expected to generally reach at the barely the least, in every way that really matters worth of 123 in 2026, which in a real sense is very huge. The chsb cost could generally show up at a biggest fundamentally worth of 149, with the regular trading cost of 127 all through 2026. Swissborg chsb value expectation December 2026. Concerning December 2026, Swissborg cost generally is gauged to truly show up at a most insignificant possible level of 129. The chsb cost could show up at a most truly outrageous possible level of 155, with the ordinary figure cost of 132 within the latest 1 month. The expense of chsb reduced by 58,830, killing a mind-blowing typical measure of 0.29 from its continuous sort of worth in a huge manner. This startling down suggests that the coin generally is in plunge at the in every practical sense, present time inferring that it will in general commonly be a nice buy, a truly open entryway for quick endeavor. Which certainly is genuinely critical. The 90 days cost change, especially is close 65.90, and the expense flowed from a base regular expense of 0.58 to most prominent really ordinary expense of 0.60 in the past 90 days in an extremely enormous manner. Swissborg basically is someplace close 69.84, with the most outrageous normal expense of the coin was around 0.73. And the base commonplace worth of was around 0.66 in past 4 months. Amazingly, Swissborg value estimate 2026 facts. What will basically be Swissborg worth in 2026, which truly is very critical. The chsb cost generally is gauged to fundamentally show up at a most truly outrageous level of 155, with smallest expense of 129. Close to the completion of 2026, which is very critical. Does Swissborg fundamentally have a future? Incredibly, to the extent that worth Swissborg has a wonderful potential to essentially show up at new levels, which is genuinely critical. It in every practical sense is measure that chsb will augment in regard, or so they thought, with respect to all plans and purposes showed by unambiguous trained professionals and business examiners. Swissborg can in a real sense make some waves in and out of town. Cost of 941 till 2030. Is Swissborg truly worth buying in 2026? In an unobtrusive manner, Swissborg's genuinely worth for the most part should by and large continue to develop as lack will in every practical sense. General help cost ascend in an unobtrusive way. Benevolently note there in a real sense is a bet to any theory, as opposed to prevalent thinking. Basically especially put assets into what you can basically accomplish preceding arriving at any goals, and generally lead the most genuinely outrageous assessment possible. Swissborg chsb value estimate January 2027. For January, the expense of Swissborg is expected to show up at a regular month-to-month furthest, especially reaches of 139, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 143 and at particularly the least 126. Swissborg chsb value estimate February 2027. For February, the expense of Swissborg truly is expected to in a